Good afternoon, everyone. Let's wait one more minute until everyone comes on fully, and we'll get started. All right, I think that was enough time for everyone to join. Again, good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for joining our securing IoT, securing IT and OT in manufacturing webinar, which is brought to you by Netrix and Cisco. During the session today, we are going to cover what is, from our experience, is very important topic for our manufacturing customers. And as the topic of the webinar says, it is focused on IT and OT security, cybersecurity trends, IoT segmentation, and so on. So we're going to cover industry trends, OT cybersecurity, architecture, and technology discussion. And at the very end, we're going to have an open Q&A session. But as you guys come with questions, as questions come up, please put them in the Q&A section of the platform here, and we will address at the tail end. First order of business, quick introductions. My name is Vlad Gatsev. I am the Chief Technology Officer at Netrix. I've been in the IT industry for over 25 years. I've worked at Netrix for close to 20 of those 25 years. At Netrix, I've been focusing specifically on cloud security and infrastructure technology stacks for customers. Hence why I'm looking forward to having this conversation with you guys. I also wanted to introduce our guest speaker from Cisco, who is an expert in IoT, IT/OT security and manufacturing, John Marchiando. John, would you mind introducing yourself real quick? John, we cannot hear you.
I'm there. Yeah, so Vlad, I'm John Marchiando, as Vlad mentioned, and I am the industrial IoT manufacturing lead here in the Americas. And I am focused on bringing information on what's going on in the manufacturing space, what some of the latest trends are, and plug Cisco solutions into their manufacturing environment and deliver real business outcomes for them. So looking forward to our exchange today, and I'll kick it back to Vlad.
Yep. Thank you, John. You guys will obviously hear a lot more from John, but everyone knows who Cisco is, and John will talk more about the technology stack and the cybersecurity solution. But before we jump into that, very quick high-level information about Netrix. We are a global consulting firm founded circa 1989, so we've been around for a long time. And at the moment, the company has 700 plus employees. We are in 6 countries, which is basically over 4 continents. So that's hence why we're a global company. We have more than 1,500 clients worldwide, and our focus and the type of solutions we deliver for our customers are focus on problem solving, driving business outcomes with cloud security and collaboration type of technology stacks. And one of our focus areas at Netrix, one of our focus verticals is manufacturing. One of the most common conversations that we come across with our manufacturing customers, and the most common cybersecurity concerns that we help these customers address is in securing the OT, the operational technology, infrastructure, manufacturing floor, and so on. IT/OT segmentation is a very, very common discussion, which is why we arrived at this topic and why we have John as a as a guest speaker here to provide a lot more detail around the Cisco security stack. This being said, without further ado, I wanted to pass it on to John to go through through slides that he has in mind. John?
Thanks, Vlad. So I don't want to brag too much about Cisco's position in the market, but I just want to iterate that Cisco's been doing industrial networking for over 20 years. So we're not a new player in this market. And as you can see by this chart, we are the #1 market share leader in industrial switching, industrial wireless, and industrial routing. So we have tons of experience here. If you have any experience with Rockwell Automation, we also manufacture Rockwell's Stratix switch product line and have a really tight relationship with Rockwell. So I'll move on from there. No more bragging about what Cisco's doing. One of the things that I always like to talk about is what's going on in the manufacturing environment today. The top challenges that we're hearing from customers are things like cybersecurity risk. Manufacturing is one of the most targeted industries for hackers out there. And as you drive up and down the street when you're traveling through town, you can look on the right side and the left side of the street, and there are manufacturing facilities all over the place. So it's a very risky position to be in. And when someone talks about, hey, my network is air gapped, it's probably not. So we always like to double click on cybersecurity risk and talk more about that with customers. Shortage of skilled workers. People are retiring out of the workforce today that have had 20 or 30 years experience in a lot of these large manufacturing facilities. And a lot of people that are coming out of college or coming out of high school today aren't as interested in getting their knuckles busted open or their fingernails dirty by going into the manufacturing space and doing some of those trade positions. So automation is making up for a lot of the shortage of skilled workers that we see today. Another trend or issue that we see that comes up a lot is, what am I going to do with AI? Every time I turn around, someone's talking about AI. There's AI on TV commercials. There's AI in the newspaper. So what are we going to do with AI? And so that'll be something I'll touch on a little bit later. How am I going to reduce energy costs? One of the big drivers of energy costs today and growing from now is going.
John, we lost you.
Sorry, it just doesn't reconnect as quickly as I'd like. Apologies. One of the large users of energy is going to be AI. Just to give you an example of a reference point, ChatGPT uses the same amount of energy in a day as 17,000 U.S. homes. So that's only going to increase as AI factories come online and are built. And you've probably heard that there are several companies that are coordinating their new AI data centers with nuclear power facilities. 3 Mile Island, for example, with Microsoft. There's a lot of issues around the existing aging energy grid, and so this just puts more and more pressure on that. And then regulatory compliance. How do I make sure that I'm complying with whatever industry regulations for whatever industry I'm in, for the regulations that are applicable there, whether it's FDA for food and beverage, whether it's or for pharmaceutical. It might be IEC 62443 for standard manufacturing. So how do I make sure I'm compliant? And then if my insurance company comes and does a risk audit, how do I rate?
John, again.
And then a lot of the business objectives here are the same that they've been forever. Improve quality, take cost out, increase your efficiency or your OEE, and expand to new markets and help improve. Those things haven't changed over the years. And it's projected that both in 2024 and 2025 that there's going to be an additional technology investment by manufacturers in their manufacturing environment. And so some of the macroeconomic trends that are out there, and again, I should change these to 2025. Just notice that, but we could also take out the concerns about what's going to happen in the 2024 presidential election. That's behind us now, so we can take that off the list. But there's a lot of things that are adding to some of the impacts that the manufacturing environment is experiencing. And so we find that a lot of companies are early in their journey to get their OT environment security implemented. And so when you're making decisions like which switch vendor do I go with, that might help also drive some of the security decisions that are made in a manufacturing environment. I'll touch more on why that's important later on, but you want to make sure you're making the right decision depending on where you are in your OT security journey. And then AI. 50% or more of companies that we talk to out in the market are saying that AI is going to be vital to their company's future success. And really, when you double click on it and you look deeper at it, it's things like preventative maintenance. How are AI-driven systems going to analyze sensor data from machines and predict potential failures as they occur? Helps reduce downtime, helps improve maintenance and uptime. Quality control, computer vision systems. They're doing vision today. They've been doing it for 30 years, but they haven't had the AI inference and inspection capabilities that AI is bringing to the table. And it's going to help detect minute irregularities with a lot better precision than human inspectors. It's applications like those, and I could go on and on. There's several we could talk about, but AI is becoming more and more important in the manufacturing space as time goes on. And then from a Cisco industrial networking perspective, the things we can help customers with are connecting and protecting the devices that are out there in the plant and making sure that data gets where it's supposed to go to do things like AI. Because one of the most critical parts of feeding an AI engine or an AI language model is getting the data predictably and reliably from the manufacturing environment. We're also working with companies every day, helping them accelerate their IT-OT collaboration. In a lot of cases, IT and OT didn't talk much because they didn't have things that the other cared about. IT was about email, OT was about uptime, and that is changing over time. And then how can we help enable your facility to be ready for the AI revolution that's coming? And a lot of that depends on how resilient and reliable your factory network is. So from an industrial transformation perspective, we've got to be much more efficient with automated and production line applications so that we can reduce and minimize downtime and reduce costs. So one of the things that we talk to people about all the time is, where are you on your cybersecurity journey, and how can we help you as more and more devices get connected? How can we help you improve your cybersecurity posture out there in the manufacturing facility? Because there are so many connected devices, there may be some that you don't know about. So that's something that's very, very important. How do we harness AI so that we can make, again, as I mentioned earlier, that we can have that foundational infrastructure in place that make those innovations and give AI the agility it needs and make it not only possible, but make it transformational. Those are the types of things we talk to customers about all the time when it comes to how do I move forward with an industrial transformation or a digital transformation project. So another area that, well, and let me back up one second. This slide comes from a report that we released around the state of industrial networking. We went out and we interviewed 1,000 of our customers globally, and there were a number of outcomes. These are three of the things that I think bubble to the surface for me personally, and when I talk to customers, they resonate. Cybersecurity compliance. How do I make sure that when someone comes in and does an insurance audit on my manufacturing environment, that they come out of there with a report that says your cybersecurity posture is doing well for the facility as it stands today, and you don't have to worry about getting fined or having to make a number of emergency investments to shore up your security posture. We're finding that 61% of companies now are working together in IT and OT. It's not perfect. There's many cases where IT teams and OT teams have never met or only met for the first time recently, but we're seeing much more improvement in the IT and OT collaboration area. And then again, there's that AI word. It's going to have the most impact on the industrial network over the next 5 years. And if you think of AI as the brains, the central nervous system for that AI network, from the sensors to the brain, is a robust industrial network, pulling all that data off the plant floor and feeding it into those large language models. And so we also have been recognized by Gartner as a leader in the factory networking area. And we like to talk about the industrial IoT being the core building block of something like a smart factory. It provides pervasive access to industrial data, devices, and systems. So that data is the fuel of applications like advanced analytics, which can also be applied with AI. It's also a foundational piece of cybersecurity to protect the existing systems, as well as new technologies as they are brought into the manufacturing area. And then to effectively deploy these technologies, an alignment and convergence of things like IT and OT skills and capabilities are not only recommended, but required in many cases. So now I'm going to talk a little bit about industrial networking and security in a real-world smart manufacturing environment. So how Cisco can help here is most enterprise customers know the Cisco product line in the IT environment. They're used to using Catalyst Center and our tools to manage networks in IT. But if we can show ways to bridge that into the OT environment, it enables you to reuse and utilize a lot of the tools that you currently have for IT in the OT space. So managing those devices can still be done with Catalyst Center because the operating system in those switches are the same as they are for IT. The OT hardware is basically Cisco in So I was saying that the Cisco OT hardware is basically the IT product in a hard candy shell, no moving parts, ruggedized for use in the manufacturing environment. And so when we talk to customers and you try to bring IT and OT together, what you discover is there are different care abouts in OT than there are in IT. Safety for security for an OT person or an OT contact really has to do with safety, keeping people out of areas that they shouldn't be in, or there is a chance of injury, making sure that machines are guarded so that parts don't come flying out of them and injure someone. That's what safety and security means for an OT person. In IT, security typically means cybersecurity. So the care abouts and things that each individual group cares about is drastically different. So the other part about what Cisco can provide is an end-to-end networking and cybersecurity solution, not only for OT, but all the way up into the IT environment as well. And we leverage a lot of the existing tools that IT might already have deployed in their environment, like ICE, for example. We can use that, and I'll show you in a future slide how you can use that to help drive policy in the OT environment. But again, our tools and our products in the OT space fit very nicely into the IT environment if it's based around Cisco technology. If you're not familiar with the industrial IoT portfolio, I'm just going to throw a quick slide up to talk about that. I mentioned we have industrial switching, which is the devices on the left, the industrial Ethernet products, both DIN rail mount and 19-inch rack mount. We have industrial wireless products that are both Wi-Fi, workgroup bridge, and something called Curb, which is Cisco ultra reliable wireless backhaul. And then we also have cybersecurity solutions as well that are extensions of some of the things that might be used in the IT environment. And so we do have quite a bit of experience, as I mentioned before, related to the platform approach to OT and IT networking and security. We've got that unified hardware across both IT and OT. The devices that are made to be used in an industrial environment, they're hardened for use in higher temperature, higher vibration, and non-cooled environments. And we allow you, again, to use the existing tools and investments that you might have made in IT. We have that unified network management platform, Catalyst Center, that allows you to, as well as SD-WAN, that allows you to connect all those devices and manage all those devices and grow as your OT environment grows using those same tools and that same investment. And then that cybersecurity strategy and defense in depth that I'll talk about a little bit more coming up here. And another piece of information or bit of information from that voice of customer survey that I mentioned, that state of industrial networking. A lot of companies talk about the fact that cybersecurity is extremely or critically important to their future. But we also find that even though IT and OT are talking, IT and OT are also doing their own thing on cybersecurity because their care abouts are different. Well, how can we make them work together, and how can we give you a consistent way to take that OT security information and use what you might currently have invested in IT to make a seamless system? So that we have a 4-step journey that we talk to people about. You can call this the crawl, walk, run, fly scenario, if you like, which is always better than the run, fall, bleed scenario. So, the first section is let's determine that operational boundary. So let's put a DMZ in that separates IT traffic from OT traffic. You really don't want to mix those two because there's a lot of deterministic traffic that happens in the OT space, and IT doesn't always understand that. Someone in IT may see a PLC on the network, try to ping that PLC from the IT environment, and you can bring a PLC offline and take your manufacturing line down if that happens. So there's lots of things to keep in mind there, but you've got to, table stakes, you've got to secure that operational boundary. Secondly, you can't protect what you can't see. So let's find a way using the tools that are out there, like Cisco CyberVision, for example. Let's understand what's connected to the network. What PLCs are connected? What vulnerabilities do those have? What VFDs or drives are connected? What other devices are out there? So that you can put a strategy together to understand, to take that information and protect that environment. And then we also have a zero trust network access technology called secure equipment access that allows you to allow a vendor to dial in or call into a machine without exposing your entire network to any kind of vulnerability like you would with a VPN solution, for example. In the third section, or the run section, let's take the information that we have and what we understand about the network and use that to drive segmentation and policies down at the edge of the network in the OT space. We can use things like Cisco ICE, which is your identity services engine, to take information from CyberVision and push policy out to the edge nodes in that network. You can also use CyberVision to drive information for enforcement into your firewall management platform. So there's multiple ways that this can be utilized. And then once you have that, step 4 is your SOC or your scene, where you're visualizing all this information. Because we're now working with Splunk, because Splunk is now a Cisco company, we're using that technology to help visualize what's happening in the OT security space and not give you alarm fatigue or things like that based on 100 alarms at one time. Let's bubble to the top the contextual information that you need to make decisions in real time. And so a lot of the things we see out in manufacturing are lack of that visibility. What do I have connected? In many cases, I don't know. And when I have those devices connected, how vulnerable are they? In other words, am I on the right version of firmware? Does that version of firmware have an issue or a kernel panic or things like that are associated with it? The OT security or the OT team doesn't always have the best security skill set. How do I get around that? How do I make this more autonomous to keep people from having to interact with everything? poor access control. I mean, how do I keep people out of areas that they shouldn't be in? And then operational inefficiencies. How do we improve that over time with a robust cybersecurity strategy? And so, just for context, this is from the FBI. The average hacker waits for 36 days before they decide what they're going to do once they get in. And it's not if you're going to be hacked, it's when. There's only two kinds of companies that we talk to, those that have been hacked and those that don't know it. So the solution that we hang our hat on the OT side is something called CyberVision. And what this allows you to do is get an asset inventory and profile the devices that are on your plant floor. It allows you to understand what the communications are between those devices and others. It allows you to figure out what vulnerabilities might exist, firmware versions, other things that might impact that vulnerability. You can set up a risk score that is based around all the things that are connected on the network and just have an understanding of how risky is my OT environment. You can take a look at the baseline of the traffic and information that's going back and forth. You run it for a couple months, then you can be pretty sure that that's your baseline. And then you can alarm when communications traffic goes to a point above that or below that line so that you can understand more about what's actually happening in real time. You can actually take snort rules and apply them in the OT environment. You can actually write custom snort rules if you like. So that also fits very well into some of the IT-centric strategies. We use Talos Threat Intelligence, which is a group of cybersecurity researchers that are part of Cisco. And all they do all day is research issues and threats in the security space. And then you have an on-prem. Why it doesn't automatically reconnect. Anyway, I'm whining. We also have an on-premises version, so it runs in a Docker container in a virtual machine, and a cloud version as well. That's something that allows us to be most flexible based on the application. And then that secure equipment access solution I mentioned, which is a zero trust network access solution for allowing vendors and others to come in and look at what's going on a particular machine. For example, if there's something that needs to be troubleshot or you need to make some PLC programming changes, it isolates the OT asset to the actual port on the switch. So they
John, we lost you. Apologies for the technical difficulties. Apologies, folks. Looks like John is fighting his microphone.
Can you hear me at all, Vlad?
Oh, yes, we hear you again. Yes.
Can you hear me?
Yep.
Awesome. All right, let's continue. Apologies there, guys. This is what I get for using a Mac, I guess. Hear me okay?
Yes.
All right, perfect. Yeah, so this secure equipment access allows you to, through a browser interface, have someone come in, make their changes, and then close the connection. And one question I always ask people is, how often do you open up a port or a VPN connection for someone to come in and you forget to close it? That's a big issue. And it just happens. You get busy doing something else and you forget. This automatically closes once that time frame that you set up for this connection is over. So a lot of cool stuff here. Happy to go through this. If anybody has more interest in talking about this, we can demo it for you in a virtual instance. So it just is a much more secure way to call into a system for troubleshooting. And then if you take a look at Cisco's holistic approach to both IT and OT security. We have a number of tools and a number of things that we can use to drive telemetry into something like a SIEM or a SOC to allow you to visualize what's going on in your system. And again, that's IT, OT, cloud. We can tie these all together with IT-based solutions and drive policy and things like that down in the OT environment. And I think that is my last slide. So I think I hit pretty close to time. So I think we're going to open it up now for questions, right?
John, the question is, what size customers are you seeing this working with? Seems targeted towards the top tier of manufacturing companies. I'll give you my answer, and then John obviously can give your experience from Cisco's, overall Cisco's perspective. But we actually work with specifically network segmentation. From there, deploying a version of the Purdue model, as well as deploying cyber vision. We see that for customers of all sizes, right? It could be we have manufacturing customers that are 500 users or less, and we have manufacturing customers that are several thousand plus people with multiple sites, with 50 plus sites, right? So it really is not geared only towards a upper mid market or enterprises, right? It's even smaller manufacturing customers are a target. They need to do something about security. They need to take the right approach about securing the OT environment, achieve proper segmentation, get the proper visibility. So great way to do that is with this platform. The chances are that you actually already own a significant amount of Cisco equipment in your network, which is capable of supporting this type of solution, and likely you only likely you need to start kind of building the layers. You starting to go from first step to second step to third step to fourth step, like John was saying. But in a good way to start getting an idea of how a solution like this can fit in your environment. We'll talk about it in a little bit more detail on the next slide. But we offer, together with Cisco, a free to our customers network and security assessment, which is geared exactly towards that, to do quick gap analysis, get an idea of where you're at, what the holes are, and based on that, we can put together a roadmap of what you need to accomplish to go from crawl to walk to run to fly, as John explained it. I hope this answers your question, but it's definitely not targeting only the largest of the large customers. It basically can fit every size customer. John, I'll open it to you for your perspective.
I would agree. It does cover all aspects: small business, commercial size, as well as large enterprise size customers. So large automotives use our technology all the way down to small business. I will say that the software is licensed a little bit differently on the manufacturing side. It's not just a big license and you just get a huge site license and you get what you get. It's based on the number of endpoints you want to monitor, you want to protect. So it can be scalable. So you can start small and grow bigger. The cool part is the technology can run in a switch in a Docker container, so you can actually make the network a sensor. And so a lot of our competition likes to talk to people about, you can put this all the way up at the top and understand your north-south traffic. Well, in layer 0 through 2 of the Purdue model, the data typically doesn't leave those layers. It stays there. So unless you get closer and closer to that layer, you're never going to pick up any anomalies that are going on in that part of the system. So what we allow you to do is get a little bit closer to I'm getting a little bit off track here, but we allow you to get a little bit closer to where the issues might be, rather than try to do a holistic approach from the very, very top.
Ben, I hope this answers the question.
Same.
I'm sure John as well, but would be more than happy to have a more detailed conversation as a follow-up if that's of interest. I don't see any more questions coming. Just to kind of pull the next slide that I mentioned earlier, for those of you who haven't started yet, kind of going down that path of figuring out their cybersecurity strategy for the operational technology side, or they have the initiative, but the IT and the OT side are very much entangled, and it's kind of hard to untie the knot. A good way to start is this. It is Cisco-funded network and security assessment, which Cisco is graciously funding for our customers, where our experts, our infrastructure network security experts, would sit down with you, completely free, free of, basically there's no cost to you, no need to work on paperwork, POs, or anything like that. All that's needed for this is couple of hours of your time to go through the details, and then from there, as a result, we would help you with creating a roadmap, an actionable roadmap that can kind of take it down the path of crawl, walk, run, fly. Again, anyone who's interested, I'd be more than happy to set up a follow-up discussion. My contact information is here, as well as it was in the very beginning of the introduction slide. So feel free to reach out with any questions. Doesn't look like there's any more questions. So thanks, everyone. Appreciate your time. You will have access to the recording and the portal. Oh, there you go. Here are contact information. But you'll have access to the recording and the presentation slide deck through the Bright Talk platform. Feel free to follow up, as well as feel free to follow up with us with any other questions. Again, appreciate it. Thanks for your time, and have a great rest of the week.
Thank you.